We'll hear a lot today about efforts to sanitize the discussion of what takes place with regard to late-term abortions, which were the subject of the videos that have been made public. But Ms. Jessen, I'd like to read you a statement from the video and then another statement offered by the Center for Reproductive Rights and get your reaction to that, what I would call sanitization. In the first video, Dr. Deborah describes a D&E abortion saying, quote, "So I'm not going to crush that part. I'm going to crush basically below. I'm going to crush above." Planned Parenthood issued an apology for Nucatola's tone. But a markedly more clinical tone is used in a lawsuit brought by the Center for Reproductive Rights, a leading abortion advocacy group, against a Kansas law prohibiting dismemberment abortions. In the suit, CRR states, quote, "Starting around 15 weeks LMP, physicians performing abortions may use forceps or other instruments to remove the products of conception from the uterus, often in combination with suction. Usually, disarticulation of the fetus occurs as the physician brings fetal parts through the cervix. This procedure is known as dilation and evacuation, or D&E procedure." As someone who has survived an abortion, can you please tell us how these two descriptions of an abortion procedure make you feel?
My face. You can probably just see my face. It's horrifying to me, absolutely horrifying to hear such things, but I also will never, ever forget, for as long as I live, watching Dr. Nucatola eat a salad and drink wine, discussing so casually the dismemberment of children, and that is it. I will never ever forget that. I find it absolutely appalling that we are even having to conduct such a hearing in the United States of America. I hope that sufficiently answers your question.
It does. Thank you. Mr. Bob, there was a news story that came out of Florida about an abortion survivor who was not rescued. Instead, according to World Magazine, the child was born alive in a toilet while the mother sought anxiously for someone at the abortion clinic to help her baby, but no one would help and the baby died. Mr. Bob, are you aware of other evidence that some abortion survivors are not rescued?
Yes, and the example that you gave was one of those from Hialeah, Florida in 2006, when a live-born infant was born in an abortion clinic, and what happened to the live-born infant was the baby was put in a medical waste bag to die, rather than providing any care or treatment. There have been a number of criminal and other actions taken in that instance, but the people involved at the clinic were not charged, however, with the specific death of the child that they clearly caused. There's been other instances in the Kermit Gosnell case when, of course, he was killing born infants or partially born infants using scissors and by thrusting them into the back of the neck of the child. You don't do that if the baby's dead. You only do that if the baby's alive. And, of course, we don't know for sure whether that was while the baby was still in the womb partially or was, in fact, outside of the womb.
Thank you, Mr. Bob. Ms. Smith. In the precursor to the Gonzalez case, the case of Stenberg versus Carhart, Justice Kennedy dissented from the decision to strike down the partial birth ban, which was later upheld in the Gonzalez case in a different ban.
A different version, yes.
That's right. He described at length the testimony provided by abortionist Leroy Carhart about the alternate D&E method or dismemberment procedure. The fetus can be alive at the beginning of the dismemberment process and can survive for a time while its limbs are being torn off. Dr. Carhart agreed that when you pull out a piece of the fetus, let's say an arm or a leg, and remove that, at the time just prior to removal of the portion of the fetus is alive. Dr. Carhart also has observed fetal heartbeat via ultrasound with extensive parts of the fetus removed, and testified that mere dismemberment of a limb does not always cause death because he knows a physician who removed the arm of a fetus only to have the fetus go on to be born as a living child with one arm. At the conclusion of a D&E abortion, no intact fetus remains. In Dr. Carhart's words, the abortionist is left with a tray full of pieces. Justice Kennedy said, the fetus, in many cases, dies just as a human adult or child would. It bleeds to death as it is torn from limb. Ms. Smith, do you believe this practice represents a humane way to die?
Let me separate, which I think something that's getting confused here in this hearing again and again, which is procedures performed on pre-viable fetuses and procedures that are performed on viable fetuses. Both of the women here on this panel are here today because they were viable at the time the procedures were performed. What you're talking about is pre-viability procedures performed on a fetus that cannot survive outside.
Maybe not. Justice Kennedy was talking about a child that was born alive with only one arm because the other had been pulled off already in the abortion procedure. My question to you is, are you going to answer it, is this a humane way to die?
I believe for a fetus, pre-viable fetus, yes, a D&E procedure is a very humane procedure, and it protects the woman and her health and safety more than any other procedure. And in fact, it was substituted
Ms. Smith,
for the
I'm going to reclaim my time
procedure.
and just say that I have to say that your view of humanity and mine are different.
I think,
and I will ask Ms. Justin and Mr. Bopp and Ms. Oden very quickly if you support, because you've already answered this question, if you support the Pain-Capable Abortion Act that has passed the House of Representatives and is awaiting action in the United States Senate. Mr. Bopp?
Yes, it is necessary for a number of reasons and pertinent to this.
It would prevent many of the instances I just described to the three of you, would it not?
It would, and could also prevent some of the instances, because we don't know for sure the gestational length of the child in some of the instances in the videos, but it could have also prevent some of them.
Correct. Ms. Jessen?
I'm speechless with Ms. Smith's reply that she thinks that's a humane way to die. I support.
Ms. Oden?
Yes, I too support the Pain Capable Act, and I want to make it clear, though, I want abortion to be unthinkable in our country. I want us to not even have to have a conversation